What's up, hackers? Welcome to Saturday Hacker Day. My name is Taggart, and this is usually the part where we would jump into the week's cyber news. But for two different reasons, we're not going to be doing that today. One, there kind of wasn't a lot. At least nothing that I felt needed extra callouts or commentary. That's part one. And then part two is my news feeds decided to perform maintenance during daylight hours in Pacific time. So I don't actually have access to my news feeds right now anyway. But I had already kind of figured that it was going to be, since it was such a slow news week because everybody was at RSA, that we were going to leave that one alone for right now and just use the bulk of our time for our main material today. So if anybody does have some cyber news that they wanted to talk about, feel free to drop it in chat and we can talk about it there. Hey, Husky, good to see you. Hope you're feeling okay, bud. Just a Guy says, thank you for the voucher for the pen testing course. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well, Just a Guy. Thank you so much. And PWST is a big part of the reason why. If you're interested in what Just a Guy is talking about, I released a course on web app pen testing. And you, because you're here, can get it for 50% off using the code DForMadness for the rest of the day. Go ahead and use that link to go grab it. It is an intro to web app pen testing, and we're unique in that it is an underrated pun, Husky. I 100% agree. So PWST is going to teach you how to do the basics of web app pen testing and also how to write pen test reports. And people seem to be enjoying it. I'm seeing a lot of positive reviews, mostly on LinkedIn, which is kind of interesting. If you have taken the course and you would like to write something out about it, let me know, and I will publicize it for you. I'd appreciate that. Helps other people find the course if you found it valuable. All right, so today we are doing that which I do not enjoy. But it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently because, actually, in some conversations I've had with Husky and some other folks, so a conversation got generated on the Discord a little bit ago about blue team certifications, and I am a big believer, or I'm a big fan of the Elon Security CTHPv2. There's too many letters in this one. Now, I need to qualify this a little bit. I'm a big fan of this certification, the eLearn Security Certified Threat Hunting Professional. I'm a big fan of the certification, and I'm a big fan of the exam. It's not cheap. It's $400 for the exam, and then the course material that you're supposed to use to prepare for it is part of INE. And if you're not a fan, or if you're not familiar with INE, it's kind of an expensive proposition up front. ExecQZ, thank you so much. I don't know what that means, but I'll let someone else link the I don't know who Shroud is, but I'll let someone else explain what else is going on in that sentiment. But so the thing with INE is that they have kind of gone down in quality in my estimation. Their labs, even though they've acquired a bunch of different labs, that they aren't as reliable. And I would prefer that they find some other kind of training platform other than what they're doing. So exactly. So there's also Blue Team Level 1 if you want something cheaper. But I'm specifically talking about this because this is, in my mind, like the black belt of Blue Team certifications. It's the Ne Plus Ultra. I have not found one that goes further. BTL1, BTL2 are good. And there are like more focused certifications, like there's DFIR certifications specifically. But if you want the overview of everything that you're going to need to be a successful threat hunter, which does touch on different disciplines, right? It does a little bit of memory analysis, it does a little bit of sim work, it does a little bit of threat emulation, like it's kind of all over the place. If you want, and malware analysis actually, if you want a little bit of all of that and you want to be able to understand all of those concepts, this is the certification that I would point you toward. Here's the thing, though. The course material is a little bit off, I feel. There are other ways that you can prepare for it. And one of the places that it really falls short, yet without giving too much away, like in the curriculum, it tells you need to know about memory analysis. Well, the memory analysis labs, I feel, are lacking. And it is something that, unless you're a DFA professional, you don't get involved in memory analysis that often. But when you have to do it, you want to make sure that you know how to do it. It's not something that you want to be unfamiliar with when you approach it, because there are just so many ways to get it wrong. It's a tricky thing, even more than disk image forensics. I really find that memory analysis, because of the nature of it, first of all, getting the image can be a little bit tricky. We won't touch on that just because it's so time intensive. But we will talk about what you do once you have the image and how to acquire the image. So I can listen to you talk. Hey, Zach, thanks very much. Very appreciative of that. I still think they're transitioning right now due to the changes that are going. Hopefully they'll fix their infrastructure soon. I mean, hopefully is just that. It's hopefully, right? I know that I'm not the only one who has been disappointed by the direction that eLearn and INE have been going for some time. And it's actually one of the reasons why I really appreciate what TCM is doing, because they're providing high quality instructional content, not just, not just log rolling my stuff, but I think that Husky's malware analysis course, the PNPT, of course, Mayor Joe's movement pivoting and persistence course, these are some of the best instructional materials out there for cybersecurity, and at a fraction of the price of the others. And so I really do believe in what they're trying to do and the way that they're trying to do it. I'll tell you that one of the reasons why I agreed to why I agreed to do the web app course with TCM was because of the way that they did the PNPT. The fact that it's free retakes, and the fact that it's they give you direct feedback after the examination is very, very special to me. They're thinking about the learner. They're thinking about the right way to do it, not just to make money, but the right way to do it for the people who are engaged in this journey. And so, I don't know. I stand with those who take moral stances. Okay, so back to our main material here. What are we doing today? We're doing memory forensics, and we're doing it with the most common tool that we use in this field, which is volatility. Here's the thing, though. You've probably seen, if you've been in this realm, you've probably heard about volatility. You may have even played with it, but I'll bet dollars to donuts that you've played with volatility version 2. Ah, exactly, Killer. Volatility 2 or 3. We're going to use both today, and we're going to talk about the differences. When you release your personal blue team cert tier list. Stop asking me to do extra work. I love this. I have expressed my comments on blue team certifications plenty of places. So we're going to talk about volatility and volatility 2. So if you go, it's very weird. If you go to volatilityfoundation.org, right? And you go to downloads. Oh, they finally have a volatility 3. But like by default, you're going to get, if you just aren't paying attention, you're going to grab volatility 2. And as a matter of fact, if you do Python, if you do pip install volatility, you get volatility 2. But there are significant differences to how Volatility 2 and Volatility 3 work. And it really matters. Would I recommend an M1 Mac as a machine toolkit for forensics? No! Absolutely not. It depends on your target, Ghostark, but you're going to want to have kind of like for like. If I'm analyzing Windows for devices, I pretty much always want to be on a Windows machine to do it because of the kinds of analysis you may need and the kinds of libraries and dependencies you may require to do it. I strongly urge against trying to do all of that on a Mac or even on a Linux machine. As much of a Linux dork as I am, there is a reason why I use Windows for a lot of my Blue Team stuff, and it's because I need those tools. IT career questions. Zach, thank you so much for the 5 gift subs to CodePeak, Shaquille, California, Wiz, Snow, and little Didi. Really appreciate that. So we're going to talk about Volatility 2 and Volatility 3. Both of these are Python libraries, and they have command line interfaces as well. Volatility is interesting in that it is used both for the capture of a memory image and the analysis of a memory image. So that's kind of why it's the all-in-one solution. Now, there are other tools that will capture memory. So for example, there is, actually, I don't have to go to a website. I just have it here, right? Yeah. There's FTK Imager, where we can use a memory capture. So thank you, Zach, for the additional gift to Rakib. That was very, very cool of you. DD for Linux. No, not DD killer, because we're not talking about a disk image. We're not talking about a disk image. What we are talking about is the memory. That's why it's called volatility, because we're talking about volatile memory, right? So if we think about the architecture of a computer, we're talking about the hard drive is your long-term storage, right? Is your long-term memory, and your RAM is the short-term memory, right? And when you restart the machine, it goes away. So when you're doing, if you have an incident and the machine is still on and still running, you are going to want to not only capture the disk image to see what's on the disk, but what is currently running. That information is really relevant, but you can't capture it with a disk image, which is what DD is for, right? Which is a bit for bit or block for block copy of the disk. You have to use a tool like Volatility or FTK Imager or something else like that to capture the memory, right? And it's a totally different situation. No, it's all good, killer, but I want to make sure that that distinction is clear. And in fact, in FTK Imager, let me use the magnifier here, you'll see that there's this little RAM disk image for capture memory, as opposed to other kinds of captures. And what you would generally do with FTK Imager is, because you don't want to install the thing on a machine that you're trying to analyze, because you cannot forensically compromise the image. So what you would do is you would either attach that thing's, attach the disk via write blocker, but that's for disk writing, or you would launch FTK Imager from like an SMB share. Right now, that's still going to create some forensic artifacts on the system, but you're not like making changes to the disk itself, right? You're like changing program files or things like that. So you can mount FTK Imager over a share and run the portable executable from there, and then capture the memory to a file share or something like that. Yes, so the computer is still running and you're capturing an image, you're capturing a snapshot of the RAM, is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about memory forensics. And that contains all sorts of information that the static disk does not. Including, I should add, all the stuff that the attackers are going to go after when they are doing their work. So for example, I'm just curious, because I know we have some red teamers in here. What are some things that may be running in memory that have sensitive data that you may want to take a look at? I'm specifically thinking about a Windows target at this point. Passwords. Yeah, but say more, just a guy. Where are they at? Orbital's got it. Yep, and Dark Elder. Yes, LSAS, absolutely right. If you're capturing the running memory, so remember that the LSAS, right, and I always forget what it stands for, Local Security Authority Server Service, right, is the process that handles authentication on a Windows machine. But for reasons known only to the Microsoft elders, to this day, the NTLM hashes and sometimes the plaintext passwords are stored in memory unencrypted. And so if you have access to that process's memory, then you can read it out. And that's what Mimikatz does, right? If you've ever heard of the tool Mimikatz, what it does is it gains access to the LSAS process memory. You have to be system to do that because it's a privileged service, right? You need that system token. But once you have that, you can read the process's memory, and Mimikatz knows how to analyze the process's memory to look for NTLM hashes and other kinds of secrets. You could do it manually if you were, a memory wizard. But Mimikatz makes it super easy, and that's why people use it. Now, you can also, there's another way, it's a little noisier, of dumping LSAS using the comm services DLL. Yeah, this is a great article. I've referenced this a bunch of times. This iRed team article about how to dump LSAS without Mimikatz. So yeah, if you use comm services DLL, you can run minidump, right, to get this lsas.dmp. Well, what is this lsas.dmp? This is a dump of the memory from the process. So rather than the entire computer's RAM, just the section that has to do with the LSAS process. That's what you're dumping right there. Well, if that's true, if we capture an entire snapshot of the computer's running memory, it's obviously going to include that information too, and a whole lot more. So that's kind of why we are interested in memory forensics. Don't forget that not just the stuff that the bad guys are after, but the stuff that the bad guys are using is also going to be in memory too. So as a blue teamer, as a defender, if there's malware running in memory, I want that. I want it, because the disk artifacts, especially in fileless malware attacks, they're going to be somewhat limited. But if I have access to what the thing was doing in memory, I get to see a whole lot more stuff. As a matter of fact, just as an example, in Offensive Notion, right, we encrypt a lot of the strings that we use in the binary, and they're only decrypted at runtime. So if you look at if you do a static analysis of Offensive Notion, you don't get to see a lot of the stuff that we're doing because we've encrypted a bunch of the strings, right? But we decrypt them at runtime. So if you're able to capture a memory image of Offensive Notion, you get to see those strings, right? And so that's the difference. Okay, enough background. Let's actually get into how to set this up, because it ain't easy, I gotta say. Volatility 2 and Volatility 3, they're a little bit different, and setting up Volatility 3 can go a little bit differently depending on what you're doing. So we're also going to be using a challenge from Cyberdefenders. So you can go to cyberdefenders.org. You can create a free account if you haven't. We've used Cyberdefenders a bunch of times on this channel. But in Cyberdefenders, they have a lot of fantastic challenges, CTFs and challenges from CTFs that teach these defensive skills. They have Splunk stuff, they have disk forensics, they have memory forensics, they have threat hunting stuff, malware analysis. And so we're going to take a look at, we're going to do this Mr. Robot one, hopefully. And yeah, it's a bit of a download. It's 1.1 gigs to go grab this memory snapshot. It's, in fact, it is 3 memory snapshots, as I found. I have Pazzo 1, Target 1, and Target 2. Cold Combo is asking an off-topic question. So what do we do when we have off-topic questions? We direct them to the Discord. Cold Combo, you should join the Discord, because there's a community of really supportive folks in there that are going to be really happy to answer your question. Can you show an example of a log pulled from memory? Yeah, we're going to do that. And there's another tool that I want to use today that I've, in truth, never really used before, other than to try to get it set up for this stream. And this tool is called MemProcFS. MemProcFS mounts memory snapshots as file systems. That sounds a little bit weird. It mounts memory snapshots as file systems. And what you can do with that, rather than having to run Volatility the way that you have to run Volatility, which, as you see, can be a little bit, you'll see, can be a little onerous. You can explore the file snapshot as a file, or the memory snapshot, I should say, as a file system, like literally mounted as a drive. And there are a lot of cool things you can do with it that way, including interacting with it with Python. It's a pretty wild thing to think about, but you can kind of see here that there's this process file system, and it has like the command.exe, and then their handles, menmap module. So it's a totally different way of working with the snapshot, but in some cases going to be a lot easier to work with it this way. But again, setting these things up is not the easiest thing in the world, I've found, and I've also found that the documentation for getting them set up is a little bit all over the place. So what I wanted to do is, yes, we're going to try to solve these challenges, but I also wanted to talk about how to get this stuff set up so that you can work with it successfully. And we're going to talk about it both in a Linux context and a Windows context. Obviously, you know that I am a Linux super fan, and so I have Volatility 2 and 3 installed both on my WSL side to use the Linux command line tools for whatever I want to do, but also I have it installed on PowerShell, or in the Windows side, so I can do it in PowerShell. So I'm going to show you how to do it in both ways. And I have finally upgraded my PowerShell. I haven't done all the cool stuff I want to do with the prompt and all the cool stuff that like Al has done with his PowerShell prompt, but I've at least made it Dracula themed. So, you know, Husky will be happy about that at least. And we'll play with MemProcFS. Any thoughts on Atom being discontinued? I'm not super bummed about Atom being discontinued, although I respect the elders, right? Atom was a text editor from GitHub before GitHub was acquired by Microsoft, and it really did. It paved the way for... it was kind of like the OG Electron-based text editor. Atom paved the way for VS Code, and VS Code would not exist without Atom. And so that one, and also Adobe Brackets, I think, were sort of the original Electron-based text editors that took advantage of like extension ecosystems. I know there's Sublime Text too, but Sublime is not Electron-based. So slightly different story for Sublime Text. But yeah, so Atom being discontinued, I think, is fine, right? VS Code is phenomenal. I really like it. But yeah, end of an era, I guess. Such is life. All right, so once you have this thing downloaded, what do you get? What do you get with this? Well, you get these three once you unzip the file, and you're going to have to unzip it with the password cyberdefenders.org. Don't miss that. See that right there? God, I love that mouse spotlight. Fair warning, I'm going to abuse that. So you will not have this memory.dump file. And this was the part that took me a minute to get working with. So once you have all this downloaded, there's another tool that you're eventually going to need, and it's called VMSS2 Core. So these images that Cyberdefenders has provided for us are VMware snapshots. They're snapshots from VMware virtual machines. I'm sorry, Broadcom virtual machines. So you got to go to this site and go to VMSS2 Core to download this Linux-based tool. It's just a Linux command line tool. So I guess you do have to use Linux to do this whole thing, to convert the file to a proper raw dump that will be workable with Volatility. Here's the trick, though, and I only found this out like, I don't know, 20 minutes before getting everything ready for the stream today, because I was clicking on this and I was trying to get everything set up. I was losing my mind. I was up at like 1 a.m. last night trying to get all of this prepped, because I don't know if I've mentioned it, but I don't actually enjoy memory forensics. I think it's really, really finicky, and there's so many ways for it to go wrong. It's just not my cup of tea, but I know that it's important, so I want to get better at it, and I want to share that with you. But so if we click on download here, something really annoying happens. It tells us there's an invalid response, which, like, what? Why? Okay, so here's the deal. I'm wondering if anyone can just take a look at what's going on here and see if they can figure out why that might be true and what we might be able to do to fix it. Oh, that's a good thought, missing the file extension, but it's a Linux binary, so there's no file extension. This was just me thinking like a Linux person. If you change the Linux 32 to Linux 64, you get the file. So do that. I don't know why. Oh, I didn't even notice this was a drop-down. Good UI, everybody. Oh, cool. You don't... Oh, that's great news. There is an exe, so there's a drop-down, too. So if you use the drop-down, you can get the exe and even the Mac binary for this. What a relief. Okay, so you actually can go get that. That's very funny, though, that the 32 was absent, but 64 is still present. Okay. I feel like it was easy to miss that drop down. Hey, Kieran, good to see you. Oh, HP support web pages. Oh God, what a maze. What a labyrinth. Ugh, no thank you. And by the way, Kieran, HP support and then HP enterprise support is a totally different beast, right? They're literally two different companies. Killer asks, so is this just something Cyberdefender does? Can I run a normal dump inside a VM? Yeah, you can. As a matter of fact, look, I have Hyper-V up and running. So I have Hyper-V up and running, right? And so if I wanted to, the checkpoints are disk diffs, but I can get memory snapshots out of this thing as well, which you can use for exactly this work. Okay, so once you have VMSS 2 core, the next thing that you're going to do is with your Windows, with the Windows executable, or if you're on Linux, I'm going to do the Linux just because I have it, right? So basically you run it like this. You do VMS2 core. I just ran it straight from my downloads, -W, and then you target the VMSS file. What are we doing with that? Let's be explicit about that. So the -W creates a WinDBG dump file, basically. And this is the format that Volatility will be able to understand. Now, we haven't installed Volatility yet. I mean, I have, but we haven't gone through it on stream. But I want you to just get this set. So once you run the VMSS2 core against the VMSS machines, let's do another one. So if I go over to target 1, right, again, I have the VMSS. So if I do downloads -W target 1.vmss, or hold on, there we go. That's the right file name. It'll go ahead and process that. Right? It found offsets and things like this. All good. And at the end, what you will have is a new memory.dmp that will work with volatility. So just make sure that you do that for all three of the targets. Okay, now let's talk about installing Volatility. Volatility 2 is easy days. All you need is Python. So to install Volatility 2, all you need is pip3 install Volatility. That's it. And that'll bring down the latest packaged version of Volatility 2. And if I do Volatility version, you'll see that I've got Volatility Framework 2.6, and I'll even show it to you that I have it on my bad. I guess I never installed Volatility 2. Let me do pip3 install Volatility. No. All right, whatever. You can also go grab, of course, the standalone executable, which is what they kind of point you toward anyway, right? The volatility.exe right here, if you want to do it here. That would be kind of like the first way to do it, is to get volatility.exe. The problem with that is going to be pathing. It's a bit of a pain. But Volatility 3, the install is a little bit different. And you can see that, look, they don't even actually give you the same kind of links for downloads here. They just say, go to GitHub. And so, sure. What do you have in GitHub? So they have releases. But look at the release. The release is just a .wheel. And I strongly recommend not installing it this way if you can avoid it. Just because there are going to be updates and changes that are made to Volatility 3. But if you do install it that way, then what you get is a command line argument called vol. So if I run vol version, right, you see I have Volatility Framework 2.01, and I have that on Windows, and I have that over here. So I have, for ease of use, installed it that way. But if you want to try like the correct way, you would git clone the Volatility 3 repo and then install the requirements with pip install -r requirements minimal. Now, there's a bit of a gotcha on Windows for this. In order to successfully build the requirements, you will need the C++ build tools. And this was kind of where I was running into some issues. For whatever reason, I have the build tools installed, but for whatever reason, there's something in how it's building like Snappy or some other component that just like wasn't working out for me. So that's why I went with the command line, or sorry, the pip wheel package, the release, which is precompiled and works just fine. Is Volatility 2 still under development? No, it is not. So people can use both of them, and you'll still find people using Volatility 2 because they're familiar with it. But it's a totally different beast. The way that you work with it, and I'm going to demo both. The way that you work with them is so different. And Volatility 3, in some ways, is easier, but in other ways makes things a little bit more complicated. You'll see what I mean when we get started with that. So with Volatility 3, you can install using the wheel. If you do decide to install using the wheel, what even is a wheel? That's a great question. So yeah, it's essentially it's a kind of precompiled like CPython package. And so all of this is where you kind of get into kind of what underlies Python. Yeah, so this is what packages up all of the things inside of a Python library. into the stuff below the source code. And to install with that thing, what you would do is pip3 install I don't know why it's not completing for me. But pip3 install, and then you point it to users, like my downloads, and then you give it the wheel, and that will install it. So you point it to whatever your path to the wheel downloaded is, and that will install it for you. And once it's done, you either will point it to your volatility.py if you've done that, or you will point it to vol and give it the dump image. So I'm going to go to pos01 first, right? And I'm going to do vol to show you vol first. -f memory.dmp, and we're going to do windows.info, which is the plugin that we're going to run. Now, again, this is Volatility 3. Awesome. Oh, that's fascinating. So that didn't play ball for me. Ooh, do I need to run? Yeah, let's try it this way. Dang it. Was this only working in PowerShell? I thought I had this working in the Linux side. Sort of like a deb, but to install a Python package? Not quite, but close enough. Here's the link to Python wheels to explain what they are. It's not no, Killer. The issue is not my plugin name. Sorry. Like, I know you're trying to help. That is not the issue. The issue is how it's picking up the plugins. And I know that because I was working on this for a million hours yesterday. Notice that in PowerShell it works fine. And that is kind of the point that I was trying to drive at with use the same platform. So if you're doing an analysis for Windows, you probably are going to want to be on a Windows machine. And that's just about kind of like how this thing works. Oh, wait a second. Sorry, I was being dumb. Memory.dump. This should actually work. No. Unable to validate the plugin requirements. Cannot write. Okay. So we're going to try this one more time on Linux. And we'll explain why. If it works, we'll explain why it worked. Ah, good. Okay. So, vol could not write to its plugins directory, or and its symbols directory. This is the core difference between Volatility 2 and Volatility 3. With Volatility 3, it will try to automatically detect what kind of a thing you're looking at and download the appropriate profile, the appropriate symbols file to decode the memory map. Those are available from Microsoft in the case of Windows, right? You have to go get the right PDB, basically. But that is only going to work if you have an internet connection and if you have the ability to write to the folder where it's supposed to install those things. So for whatever reason, the built-in vol does not do that for me, right? Because I didn't install it with sudo, but whatever. Those permissions are messed up, and I don't feel like playing with that. So by using the scripts volatility3 vol.py, interestingly, because I downloaded that myself and I have write permissions to it, it was able to write to the correct folders and automatically detect what I was working on, and it gives me the profile here. And the same is true, incidentally, over here. That's why it was... The only difference is that, Windows permissions are structured a little bit differently on PowerShell. Oh, let me try that sentence again. I'm sorry. The difference is that permissions are structured differently on Windows, and so when I ran the pip install, it didn't have a problem, basically. So I can use both the command line side and not the command line side. Now, let's talk about Volatility 2 and just show the difference between how we would work with things with Volatility 2. So if I ran Volatility and F, and I'm going to give it the memory.dump, and then I'm going to ask for image info as the plugin, it's going to go to work and try to find what kind of a thing it is. Now, this is also one of the reasons why I am doing this on my actual machine, as opposed to a VM. Like, technically, yes, WSL is a VM, but it has access to all 12 of my cores, so that's fine. The reason is that this can take a minute to actually get going. And so the way that you start working with these tools is you start by getting the image info, and this tells you what kind of profiles there are. So it tells you, okay, Win 7, and how does that look compared to what we did with Vol 3? So 7600. Yeah, I would say it's pretty close, but we don't know for sure. And you might wonder, like, what on earth are they doing with Windows 7? The reason is that the images are just smaller. So they're used more often for these kinds of challenges. And that's right, Killer. Volatility 2 doesn't auto-detect. It just gives you the suggested profiles. Right? So we can try one of these and see how it goes. Now, the easiest way to see if you've got a right profile in Volatility 2, and let's just do a -H so you can see the plugins. Here are all the plugins that you can run off of Volatility 2. You can also write custom ones if you're cool like that and want to write custom Pythons or custom plugins in Python. But here you have like command line, command scan, consoles. Usually the first one that I do is PS tree rather than PS list, because you can do PS list. We'll do that one first just to show you, and then we'll do PS tree. So PS list is the list of processes, obviously. Oh no, I did a bad. I forgot something. I forgot to give it the profile, right? So the profile is super important because that tells Volatility how to map the memory. If you don't give it a profile, you may not get anything. So we're going to try it with this profile, which was its first suggested. We'll see how it goes. All right. Looks pretty good. I'm not getting any errors. So it looks like I'm getting a proper process list. And everything looks to be in order here. System with a PID4 SMSS. Looks good. CSRSS looks good. Win init. There's LSAS, right? A bunch of service hosts. This looks like Windows the way that I would expect it to look. Java, terrifying. WinWord, okay. I explore Excel. So like Okay, this seems to be working. Now, what does PS tree look like? It has indentations, basically. It gives me the organization of parent and child. Now, how to do same with Volatility 3. With Volatility 3, I'm gonna use Volatility 3 on the PowerShell side for now, if that's cool, just because it'll keep it easier to differentiate. So if I have, we have windows.info. This time I'm going to do windows.pstree.pstree, and yes, it is case sensitive. Way faster, way faster, because now that it has downloaded the appropriate symbols file, it doesn't have to guess, right? It can say, okay, I can map right here, boom, done. And looking a lot cleaner to me. I don't know about you. I like this output quite a bit. So that's kind of the first step here, is just kind of looking at, and this would be the first thing that I would look for, is a process tree. And if I were taking notes on this, which I probably should, I'll fire up trusty Joplin here. And create a new note. We'll call it Cyberdefenders, Mr. Robot. Okay. And this is pause 1, right? And so going to take that shell output and say, so it's a Windows 7 system, right? And then we'll say PS tree. Whoops. Could I snapshot it? Sure, but why snapshot when you get a plain text? With nice scroll. And as I've said, I really like Joplin for note-taking for stuff like this. Okay. Now, the PS tree, that's like the first command, right? Just to find out what was running on the system. What else is there? This right here is this is the Volatility 3 docs, and they're really hard to read. Don't like them very much, but if you can intuit the plugins package, you can kind of get from here a nice list of all of the plugins as they are organized. Now, if you run like volatility-help, if you do like vol-h, it'll give you the list as well. But I kind of want to have it up separately so I don't have to keep scrolling up, right, to find these. So Windows command line might be a cool one to try. Something I always like to do. Vol 3 also can implement Yara scans. That is correct, which is huge. Check out my command line arguments. Anything that looks weird here? There's Java. That's always concerning. Winword is opening all safe customer data.txt. That is sus. And then going back up to our... Let me just run PS3 again so I can get it. Notepad is also opening that file. Yes, you are correct. You know, one of the things that you always look for at this is weird children of weird parents. Right? So like Winword, what is Winword a child of? It's a child of Explorer, that's fine. But if you saw like, and Notepad is a child of Explorer too, that is fine. This is messed up though, right here. RegSVR32 shouldn't be a child of Explorer. That's really suspicious. Because what is RegSVR32 going to be doing? It's going to be running, right? It's going to be executing something. Let's look up RegSVR32. To register and unregister OLE controls. So what you do is you register DLLs, right? And so this is one way to get persistence going. It is generally not called from Explorer. So that is interesting. And then some iExplorers. It's command line. Yeah. So right off the bat, we have some things that look suspicious, but nothing crazy just yet. So other plugins that we can run. We go back to our plugins, right? There's strings, there's symlink scans. SVC scan. That might be interesting in this case, given what we saw with RegSVR. Windows SVC scan. Hey, D2, thank you so much for the follow. Now, that's a lot, right? So it takes some time to go through all the services that are running, because there's a bunch. Now, I'm wondering if there's any no options for that. So I can't specify a service. But I can, if I have these PIDs, I can look for process memory on specific services if I want to, if I find anything that looks weird. And I'm pretty much looking over on the right-hand side. to see if there's anything that isn't C Windows System 32. Just as a starting point. Now, I'm trying to give you a tour of stuff that you can do with Volatility, but we actually have something that we can pull. We have a thread we can pull on here, because when we looked at our command line, right, we found, excuse me, this all safe customer data.txt. And so we can actually go use strings, I think. Windows.strings. And can I give it a PID? I think I should be able to give it a PID. And I'll give it the PID of 2700. I can also dump the file, perhaps. Yeah, file scan. That's right. I could do file scan. And what does file scan need? This is going to give me everything. Dump files. That's not file scan, dump files. Thank you. So the PID is 2700. There we go. Thank you, killer. Oh, no. Double dash PID. Nice. So this is going to make a mess. If we go to POS01, we find a bunch of stuff. And so, is there a better way to do that, right? Yes. If you give it the virtual address, dump a single file object at a virtual address. So if we do a file scan, and I'm actually going to just make this easy with a find stir. And see if we can find that all safe customer data.txt. Or not. Oh, because I'm doing wide strings. Of course. This may be a... Oh no, all safe customer data.csv, which is different though. You are right though. It was there. So if we use dump files with the /vert address, and again, what is going on here? It can be difficult to conceptualize this, where it's like your memory snapshot is just a stack of bytes, right, from start to finish. And so if you find the right offset, the right starting point from offset from the beginning, from 0, you cut right to that section. That's where you're going to do the extraction. That's what we're doing with this vert address. I think it's vert address, not physical. Maybe it is. Physical address it is. So notice now we got ourselves a CSV. I am not about to open that, right? But if we notice that it's got the .dat extension, and that's a nice defanger. But if I do cat it out, you can see that I do actually, in fact, have. Those look like credit card numbers. CVVs. And it looks like, I didn't know that droids could have credit cards, but turns out we were able to extract the file. Now, maybe we should take a look at the challenges. What are the questions? So the first one is target 1. What email address tricked the front desk employee into installing a security update? Ooh, interesting. So that's the first question. Let's go over to target 1. And we've got memory.dmp. Okay, so we're going to do vol again. Yeah, TMP, and then we're going to do windows.filescan just to see what's there. No, my bad. We're going to do windows.pstree.pstree. Same way again. I like starting from the PS tree. Oh God. What do I see that looks bad? Actually, there's a bunch that looks bad here. This is gnarly. Team viewer, yeah. Yeah, that's upsetting. This one I am going to screenshot just for ease. Hey, Wally. Yeah, team viewers, there's Outlook, and there's also a bunch of cmd.exes, which always scares me, especially... Look at this. cmd.exe as a child of Internet Explorer. Yikes. That's not good. It's not what you want to see. And then, yeah, Outlook.exe, obviously. There's another cmd.exe that's a child of Explorer. So what we might do is like... No, I'll keep that full screen. What we might do is like PIDs of interest. So obviously, 2496, which is cmd.exe. What else we at? Team Viewer 2680. By the way, if you haven't blocked Team Viewer in your environment, what are you doing? Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop. Don't let it on your machines. It shouldn't. There's no reason to be using it other than crimes. I know there was that instance a couple of months ago where there was actually it was quite a few months ago at this point, right? Where there was a water treatment plant in Florida that was using TeamViewer for remote access to industrial control. Yes, that was an approved use, but also a bad use because then it was compromisable, right? It's such an effective threat vector. And especially in the era of the Rona, you have to be watching what's going on with remote access. You just have to. TeamViewer didn't exist? Oh yeah, it does. Oh yeah, it does. 1856. All right. I think that's where we're gonna stop for the PS tree for the moment. And so now we're gonna do we're gonna do the command line because I want to see what that's all about. mstsc.exe. I should know what that is off the top of my head, but I do not. Creates connections to remote desktop session hosts, servers, or other remote computers. Edits. Yeah. And that was 2844. Which was a child here of Explorer. That's funky. Okay, but we don't see what are we not seeing? We're not seeing who am I /groups or who am I /priv or anything funny like that. So the question was about email. So what I might do is just grab dump files. I can do dump files at a PID, right? Or I want to do a file scan first. And can I give that a PID? No. It's so annoying. We'll do a dump files at the PID and see what we get. A lot of OSTs. A lot of DLLs. Front desk at allsafecybersec.com. Yep. There's the mail. But we couldn't get the file, interestingly. And this is kind of why I don't like to do the raw dump files, because it's such a pain this way. So I'm just cleaning this up, basically. So I don't want image section objects. I only want data section objects. Better. And okay. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. So these are 448Ks. Let's try to get this one. Ah, fun. That's a lot of binary data. All right, time to run strings on that. That's better. So that is not the message. Let's see what the 64K one was. Nothing in there. Okay. So it doesn't look like I was able to grab the file out of there. And that's fine. Clean that up. One of the things that we know is going to be in an email is a from, right? So one of the things we might try is our friend, the Yara scan. Hey, Gray Fox, we are using Volatility 3 to do memory analysis. So Yara scan is its own thing. It's not a Windows thing. So if we do Yara scan -H, Yara scan dot Yara scan -H should tell us. So we can give it rules. But I'm pretty sure we can just give it a string. No? Was that the old version of Volatility that allowed us to do that? Yeah, I think so. Yara rules as a string. If I do Yara rules, interesting. I think I'm going to have to match wide because this is Windows. Let's match from. See if we do any better. That's so much different. Of course it is. But notice that we are finding matches, right? Let's look for security update. No, we're supposed to be able to get this. That's fine. So part of this is I'm trying to cut too quickly. I'm trying to cut directly to stuff. And the truth is I just can't. It wants the file name of the exe, but I haven't found the I mean, I technically did find the email address, right? If we go up, PS tree again. And this is why, again, I'm not a huge fan. So I want 3196 as my PID. Windows.strings. And I'm going to do PID 3196. Strings file. Oh, I have to look for specific strings. Well, I could do that. This might match too much, but... And notice how I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between Linux and PowerShell. This is why even on Windows machines, I do like to have WSL as an option for the command line tools there. Line in unrecognized format. Interesting. Something I don't understand about the strings module? And again, so once you get into the volatility docs, it's actually docs for the API. It doesn't actually help you. with the command line analysis. Oh, good. You prefer a nice Arch Linux. Well, thanks for letting us know. You know there's a WSL Arch instance, right? Yeah, Killer, that's a good idea. We did talk about MemProcFS. Let's take a look at how MemProcFS works. So MemProcFS, right, to install it, it is mostly simple, but there are a couple of gotchas. So first, go to the releases and just grab the files and binaries for your operating system. Strongly recommend if you want to mount Windows stuff to do it on Windows. Now, once you have memprocfs.exe, the other thing you'll need is on Windows, right? Mounting the file system requires the Dokkaney file system library to be installed. So you're also going to need, so here's memprocfs. Let me send that to you. And then here is the Dokkaney driver, basically, that allows this thing to mount. So how does this work? I've got memproc right here. And so basically what we're going to do, I'll go to target 1. And here I'm going to run, because I have memprocfs elsewhere, in scripts, memprocfs, memprocfs.exe, Q, or mount, and I'm going to put it on the Q drive, just because why not? And then we do device and memory.dump. And luckily, that has actually worked. And as you can see, I now have data here. So I have all the PIDs. So, yeah, luckily. I was, well, so I was struggling with this earlier, but it turned out that most of the reason I was struggling with it was because I was doing it before using the VMSS to core tool. If you try to do this with the VMware snapshot without doing the conversion, it will fail and drive you mad. So let's go to Files. DLLs. See what else we got. Handles. Well. Look at this file we have here. Now, again, I do not want to open this. But I am more than happy to grab the artifact. Yeah, Wally, before you got here, we talked about how the Cyberdefenders challenge that we're doing gives us these VMSS images. Actually, you're going to see them once I navigate to the thing. Gives us these VMSS images. These are VMware snapshots. That is not what you want, because neither Volatility nor MemProcFS can read them. And so we used a tool called VMSS2 Core to convert it into a raw memory dump. So make sure that you do that first. So yes, MemProcFS to the rescue. That's really exciting. Let's take a look at what's in that OST file. The same stuff that we had before. Do I seriously just have to open it with Outlook? Ugh. I don't even have Outlook on this machine. Ooh, can Thunderbird run OST files? Sublime could open it. Well, if Sublime can open it, I'm sure VS Code can as well. It's a lot of null bytes. This isn't really better. I don't know why you thought... No. This is a binary blob. Sublime would not be able to deal with this any better than VS Code. Urgh. Like, I have Outlook on here. I just don't want to use it. But fine. Ah, yes. Good old OST viewer. God, so gross. This stuff is all so grody. Yeah, I don't know if Thunderbird can do it, though. Okay, apparently yes. Launch kernel, OST to Thunderbird. Okay. Looks like Thunderbird might be able to help us out here. I'll install Thunderbird. That's fine. This is exactly why this kind of analysis is tough to do, and it's tough to do on stream because it's so time intensive. Oh boy. Take off the ugh. Import OST to Thunderbird. Gross. Okay, let's try one more time. Let's try strings on this. See if there's anything useful in here at all. Boy, not really. But we do know this is the email address, right? No, it's not. God. Oh, you know what we can do? I'm making this harder than it needs to be. So, right. Here's what we're gonna do. Instead of I want a mem dump of a process. How do I do that with Volatility 3? Would an OST to PST converter help? Not really. I need an mbox, but it's fine. We're going to get at this a different way. Do I have to use Volatility 2 to do this? In Volatility 2, we have the proc dump. Dump a process to an executable file sample, which would give us at least something to work with. So it's so weird to me that we don't have that. But we also have MemProcFS, right? So we have MemProcFS open. Oh, there's just a strings.txt. No. My bad. Here we go. Shreddark, thank you for the follow. All right, 3196. Let's see. Oh, hell yeah. God, so good. MemProcFS gives us the mini dump for it right away. And we're going to call that outlook.dmp. Okay, let's try that. Strings and 8 outlook.dmp. That's what I'm talking about. That's funny. Front desk at All Safe Cybersec. That's one we found. Ooh, look at that. The White Rose. 2 front desk at All Safe Cybersec. Ah, to the White Rose at gmail.com. There it is. We persevered. And yeah, MemProcFS is making this a ton easier. I'm glad we went to the trouble of setting that up. Yeah. What is the file name that was delivered in the email? Well. Now we're just going to grep4.exe. Right here. Hello, Mr. Wellick. In order to provide the best service in the most secure manner, AllSafe has recently updated our remote VPN system. Oh, and with the IP address too. There it is. AllSafe has recently updated our remote VPN software. Please download the update from the link below. 180.76.254.120. AnyConnectInstaller.exe. What is the name of the rats family used by the attacker? Well, in order to dump that out, we're going to have to go grab that file and get its hash. Which is a little tricky. You have the name. Can you search the file system for it? So remember that I don't have I have the file system sort of. I have the memory, right? So what I'm doing is yarscan.yarascan, yara rules, anyconnect. And we'll see what we find. Okay, we found it in a couple different places. If we do a file scan, it's still annoying to me that you can't give a PID for the file scan here, because you can definitely do that in Volatility too. So this is where, like, I do not want to have to... If I do, like, select string, AnyConnect, is that going to work for me in PowerShell? No, because... Why? Weird. This is, again, why sometimes I just, like, prefer to do it in WSL. So if we do vol memory.dump, and we'll do Oh, wait, sorry. I'm being silly. We can do it here. The trick is that we would do... right? Or no? No. Yeah, I can't do it that way. So here, I'm going to do windows.filescan rep AnyConnect. Oreo Bite, hey, good to see you. What is another good memory dump CLI analysis tool other than Volatility? There kind of isn't one. Not that I know of. It really is like the only game in town. There are other tools to do memory analysis. So for example, Mandiant Redline will do memory image capture, and then with it you can analyze it there. Redline has some good sides and bad sides. Okay, we never found any connect. So we just do a strings connect. Let's search for that in the outlook.dump. AnyConnect installer. All right. So we connected this. So one of the things about these hunts is that sometimes you have to kind of go off script, right? So we're going to go over to VirusTotal and see what they have to say about that IP address. Huh, nothing at all. Can we ping it? I mean, it's not live fire. So I don't know why we're not finding the file scan here. Dump memory process and upload to VirusTotal. We've dumped the memory process. We can upload it to VirusTotal, I suppose. But you don't want to dump the whole process memory. Like, not the, let me back that up. We don't have the malicious process. We're working in Outlook right now. I'm not sure it's finding anything correctly with grep here. Like, if I don't find EXEs, we'll know. Yeah, the file isn't attached to the email. We don't know where it got, like, we don't know what got downloaded from here, right? This AnyConnect installer, like, this is the URL, but who knows what was going on here after that. Please hold. Thank you for the follow. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I do not believe that we're seeing data come in the right way. What you got for me? That's ridiculous. We know we had it here. There's a lot of prefetch. You know what I should be doing is saving it. As a PowerShell variable. Oh dear. This is Unicode, car map, codec, can encode characters, position 10 to 24. It's weird that I'm getting a Python error. Did you attempt the last Hacks the Box CTFs? I really don't do CTFs anymore, to be honest with you. So I want to point out, like, this is kind of why Volatility 2 still has some relevance here. Because what we're going to do with this is oh, did I hit a nerve by saying I'm not doing CTFs? I am producing content like this, and I'm learning in different ways. I had a moment, like, I used to really enjoy CTFs, and I did a bunch of them. And then I just had a moment where what I was doing professionally and how things were represented professionally for me and the game of CTFs totally diverged. And it was like, if I want to play a puzzle game, I will play a puzzle game. But if I want to learn about this material, I now have access to other ways to do it. And those other ways to do it was more about, like, building stuff for myself, using the lab, doing deep dives on things that didn't have a specific, like, challenge like that. And the other thing is that I am not interested in how clever a CTF designer is. I am interested in defending my network. And so if it is based on a real attack, that's very cool. But for me, I like getting malware samples now and seeing what they do. I like building real stuff. So it's just like, I don't have a problem with CTFs as a concept. And if you get a lot of enjoyment and get a lot out of them, that's fantastic. And I recommend people do CTFs for that reason. For me personally, the worm has turned a little bit on that one. All right, so this is why Volatility 2 can have some. What was our outlook? Oh, we should have kept that. 3196. Okay, so we're gonna do a file scan with Volatility 2 here. And what you're going to notice is that with... I really thought file scan was going to be able to... I really thought I was going to be able to give it a... 4196. Give it a PID. But if not, at the very least... Let's see if it's greppable. I go back and forth doing malware analysis. See? Look at that. Whereas Volatility 3 was driving us up a wall, Volatility 2 just gave us the thing, right? There's a Windows.malfind module. Yeah, there is. I don't like relying on malfind, though. I like hunting for the thing. Okay. How often do you load custom modules? Basically never. I'm sure there are some good ones out there, but I've yet to find the need for it. I'll also say, like, I don't do a lot of memory analysis, right? And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to go through it here is because we want to... All right, got this file. Now, we can do a proc dump or a file dump a couple ways, right? We do have a file dump in Volatility 3, right? Dump files, and then dump files should give us an offset option, right? Yes. So we're going to give it the fizz adder. Zero exit. Look at that. So we were able to get the installer. Yeah, that's a PE32 executable. That looks good. So we're going to get the MD5 Sun on that. And toss that at virus total. There we go. There we go. There's some malware. Do we see that file inside MemProc? If we did, I didn't see it. It wouldn't be in PID 3196. It might be in Explorer, which was it had to have been opened though, right? And we didn't see it in the PS list. That's the problem with memory analysis, right? You get a snapshot in time. So if we were looking at Explorer, where is Explorer? $21.16. No. So what got us there, I just want to point that out. What got us there was being able to file dump out or do a file scan and grep for the thing we were looking for. Okay. But for whatever reason, Volatility 3 refused to be greppable, and I do not know why. If we did if we had done file scan like this, yeah, we're getting this weird Python error that says carmap codec can't decode errors. That's interesting. I assume that's like a wide strings problem. And if we did it here, rather than doing a T, if we did just a file scan.txt, would it have worked? Like, for whatever reason, the way it's handling standard out is just weird, I think. And so we weren't able to get it the way that you would expect. Nothing. Like, what? Why? And so, weirdly, Volatility 2 was greppable, which allowed us to find the thing easily. I don't know why it worked, but it did. Okay, so this thing is evil. What does it do? Explorer, iExplorer, any connect installer, SVC host. Okay. I should be signed in. Let's see if there's a map. Indeed there is. And they wanted to know what rat it was, right? Is anybody calling it anything like rat? Alibaba is calling it XT rat. So is Malwarebytes and Microsoft. Okay, so XT rat. What is the name of the rat's family used by the attacker? Oh, is it extreme.rat? I hate these questions. They're so dumb. Every single vendor has their own naming convention. Look at this. Every single vendor has their own naming convention, and guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. With very few exceptions, it doesn't matter. Like, if you are doing proper malware analysis, then yeah, it matters because you're trying to do attribution. If you're trying to figure out what happened to a system, at this point, it might. But more what you're interested in is the behaviors. This stuff right here. Like, okay, maybe you can go pull that from threat intel, but why bother if you actually have a sandbox run of the executable and know exactly what it does? Knowing what the thing's named matters later. At least that's my take. Like, that's why these questions are kind of dumb. The malware appears to be leveraging process injection. What is the PID of the process that is injected? Well, how do we know that it's leveraging process injection is one question. If we go back to the PS tree, actually, at this point, we can do malfind just to do it, right? It's so clear. The output is so understandable. The trick is it's looking for sections of memory that have read-write, right? Page execute read write. Not a whole lot going on in there, but if we go back to the Windows.ps tree output, let's think about what was weird and evil looking. Right, well, we saw that command.exe was getting launched from Explorer. That's a maybe suspicious, but maybe not. We don't really know because you can, like, somebody can open a command prompt. If I do this, right? If I open in PowerShell, right? Like, that is PowerShell.exe as a child of Explorer. So that doesn't necessarily mean that something suspicious was going on. But we had the command line, right? We have these command.exes, and unfortunately they don't go further. But these were the running ones, right? It's entirely possible that there was other stuff that happened later, or sorry, not later, but before, that we didn't catch. Is there anything that looks injected? Anything that has strange children? I don't see anything else that has odd children, really. Other than maybe iExplore.exe. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, wait a minute. No, iExplore should never have command.exe as a child. This is a dead giveaway. So I'm putting my money on $29.96. Whoo. What is the unique value the malware is using to maintain persistence after reboot? This means we need to start looking at persistence methods. So what are persistence methods? Largely, we're going to be talking about registry stuff. Which, not a plugin, annoyingly, that we have in Volatility 3. We do have a Volatility 2 registry plugin, I believe. Right, if we do this, we'll get told that we have... I really thought that we had a registry demo. If we don't, that is okay. But I gotta tell you, it seems like it's services. Because of the reg SVR32. Hive list killer, you gotta give me more detail, bud. Hive list is a plugin. Okay, print out list of registry hives. So we can do hive scan. There we go. We'll scan it for registry hives. Now, is there? Yeah, that's just not like a thing that we have in Volatility 3. And this is kind of why, like, yeah, Volatility 2 is still relevant because there's important stuff that you need. Okay. Didn't like that. Hive dump. But it needs an offset, right? And this is why we may go back to MemProcFS for this. Because, look, there's just a registry. How cool is that? So I'm looking to see if there's anything interesting in here. You kind of want to do like software. The hell is fhack? Interesting. But they would need something to reference that if they're not compromising another registry key, right? There's another thing that we can just check without having to do this ourselves, right? Work smarter, not harder. go check virus total, because here it tells us that we go to Windows current version. Microsoft Windows current version. There's going to be a run, and there's a Mr. Robot. And look at that. I don't know why it didn't make us do the whole hive or the whole path, but so as you can see, different parts of this tool chain do different things well. I really like the speed that Volatility 3 is giving me. It runs a lot faster than Volatility 2. There are some parts of working with things, though, that Volatility 2 still does a little bit better, like greppable output for some reason. And then the MemProcFS makes it way easier to walk through processes. So much easier to walk through processes. That's a huge win. Malware often uses a unique value or name to ensure that only one copy runs on the system. What is the unique value? I do not know. I don't know how to do this one. I'll be honest with you. My first thought is to go back to virus total and see if there's anything. Maybe it is. Extreme source server .dat? That doesn't seem to fit, though. No. Some other .dat file. Oh, look at that. You're right, killer. It is a mutex. fsociety0.dat. It appears that a notorious hacker compromised the box before our current attackers. Name the movie he or she is from. Is it not Mr. Robot? Like, why? But if there is somebody else who was on the system, how would we know it? There are a couple ways, I guess, depending on how they compromise the system. I'll do a hint for this one. Analyze the memory dump using RStudio. That's a... Hey, they gave it away, though. So I could have just looked for users. If we had done... So let's see how that works. So if we do... in Volatility 3, we have a... get SIDS. Now remember, this is pulling the SIDs from process tokens, right? So like this is the user on the other side here. Oh, team viewer wasn't accounted for. That's a good point. And of course, we could also see this in the registry. Although, interestingly, there's only HKU, so the user is gone. So it's not in the registry. We saw TeamViewer was running. That's interesting, though. TeamViewer was running as who? TeamViewer was running as front desk, interestingly, Killer, so... Weirdly, no. Oh, wait a second. If I do LSA dump. Windows dot get SIDs, Windows dot handles, Windows dot. Oh yeah, Windows dot LSA dump isn't there. That's cool. Actually, that's a good point. Does file scan like this have actual help? Nope. So, Killer, I would try hash dump, but it's not there. Once again, Volatility 2 to the rescue. Been a minute. So just as a reminder, PWST is out, and today you can get the course 50% off with the code D for Madness. Yeah, it's gonna take a second. Why would it be there? It's just in the documents. I mean, yeah, it's kind of the thing, right? I love when I can't trust my tools. Well, my days of being frustrated by memory analysis are certainly coming to a middle, but we're making progress. What is the NTLM password? So we're going to have to do that for this anyway. I don't think MemProcFS does a solid for us. I don't think so. That would be amazing. I love that it gives us net stat though. That's really cool. Thea, thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, this is cool. Security. There's interesting stuff to be found in objects if you know how to navigate it, and I'm no expert at doing so. Thanks for hanging out, Wally. I mean, we could presumably dump LSAS the same way, but all right, let's do hash dump. See if we do any better. Moving on. The attackers appears to have moved over some tools to the compromised front desk host. How many more of these do we have? Oh, God. Oh, look at that. So there's only front desk, though. Well, this is going to give us something. What is the NTL and password hash for the administrator account? So NTLM. Weirdly, this is the LM, this is the NT. I'm pretty sure they want just the NT. Yeah. Can we get it? No. But what about front desk? They're going to make us crack that one too? What the? What is happening? Oh, I'm just blind and I didn't see not found. Okay. So, no password there. Could we crack it? Sure. Do I feel like doing that right now? No. Also, that's another one that's kind of like outside the scope. Some tools to the compromised front desk host. How many tools the attacker move? One? I don't know. We could actually look at it. So we know that iExplorer was what was injected, right? So iExplore was $29.96. So if we go to MemProc and go to $29.96, see if there are any fun handles. There's that fsociety.dat mutant. This is everything that the process has a handle onto, right? Whether it's a file, whether it's a thread, whatever it may be. A process command.exe, right? So handles is a really cool thing to look at because it shows you everything that the process is grabbing onto. Now, I was looking for maybe DLLs that looked weird, but I am not seeing too many of those. What else do we have? PS list. No. All right, let's get the file scan.txt going again. Let's see if we can get anything else. Oh no, this won't work. Sorry. Right, we want the file scan, and we're going to send that to file scan.txt. And then we'll search in there, see if there's anything interesting. Probably going to come to the end soon. I think that's been a lot for today. And that part is fairly reflective, that you have, there's a ton of stuff here that takes time. There's a lot that you just have to slog through. And ideally, you're doing this with a team, because there's just so much knowledge that goes into analyzing one of these things. If it seems like a lot, it's because it is. Yeah, almost 3 hours of memory forensics, and we barely scratched it, right? From a single host, right? And there are 2 other hosts that we haven't even touched. That's kind of what I mean. What was the team viewer PID? 2680. Also, we have also 1856. I want to see what 1856 was doing. This has been mind-altering. Oh, thank you so much, Husky. How, in what way has your mind been altered? Ooh, what is this? This Gideon. On Z. Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, and I will say that this is like, this is what it takes on this THP V2. Not quite this crazy, but depending on how deep you want to go, like, you got to be able to do this stuff. And I have yet to find like a single resource that's like, this is how you volatility. Because now, like, between volatility 2 and 3, how do you can't, right? You have to switch between the two of them to get what you need. All right, we're going to just look in Vim. Thank you, Vim, for EXC at the end of the line here. Actually, we're going to do C users. Let's look for front desk. And I'm going to highlight my search so it's easier for you to see. Windows burn. Oh, stop. There's no way that we have Sysmon, do we? Was that one of the services? Okay, so now we're going to look for, instead of front desk, we're going to look for front desk and then anything. And then .exe. Nice. So we found one. Did we find anything else? Aha! We found something else. We found wce.exe. Okay. And get LSA RV address right here too. That's interesting. And then the TeamViewer QSEN.exe. So wce.exe, I want to know what that is. Because TeamViewer is TeamViewer, right? But what is wce.exe? To do that, we can do... We're going to dump file at the physical address that. We got this wce.exe. So we're going to do MD5 some grab that. No go back, lots of texts. What are you talking about? Okay, so we found some more evil here. Windows credential editor. That's cool. Pass the hash toolkit. That makes sense. So yeah, hacktool.wincred. Windows credential editor. Okay. I don't know what number they're looking for here. I guess 3 tools, right? So it's what? TeamViewer, AnyConnect, and WCE. Now, again, with Volatility 2, the next question is, what was the password, right? And this is another thing that Volatility 3 is missing. Hey, Angel. So, yeah, so we tried the command line, right, with Volatility 3. I keep opening the wrong PowerShell. I should move that off. Wait, is there any reason? Yeah, no, I'll leave it there because sometimes I need to run it as admin. But, right, so we have the command line. Tool. But for completeness, Volatility 2 has another tool. They have the command line, but they actually have this command scan and consoles. There are 2 others that are worth running. So if you do command scan, it looks for different things. Right? Which, in fact, look, would have given us a bunch of stuff. It would have shown us the wc.exe run. I don't know how... this is supposed to work, but it really feels like there are big missing parts to Volatility 3. Yeah. So let's see, we got WC run as profile. So something was run as administrator. I think you can dump the memory for the tool and may get the output from it when it was ran. I don't think that's correct, Angel, because it would have to be from command.exe, not the tool itself. Let's run consoles. Well. See, this is where the output of command.exe stuff lives. Right, there was some dir. There's the Windows credential editor getting run. And then there's your password. At least I think. We haven't seen the local admin yet. Oh, there it is. Run as profile. Run as profile. Enter the password for administrator. But we didn't get the password. Unless I'm missing it. Oh, there it is. It just took a minute. All right. I think that is a great place to call it. Yes, we didn't finish the challenge, but I think this was a good intro into volatility. Now, for cleanup, what are you going to do? So for cleanup, you're going to want to close down MemProcFS, and that's just a Control-C. That'll unmount the drive. And if you want to clean up the space on your machine, you can go ahead and just knock off all the crap that we made. However you want to do that. I'll just do that here. Learning Cyberdefenders. Robot. We did most of this in target 1. So like Outlook, all this stuff. Yeah, pretty much everything north of here is what we would need to do. And that's kind of it, right? So there's obviously a lot to this, and what you want to do as you become experienced in this kind of line of work is come up with processes that you like. I like looking at the process list first. Some people like looking at consoles first. Go look at everything though, and then take good notes. Always capture offsets because you're probably going to need them. Capture PIDs because you're going to need them. And yeah, it kind of requires this mix of tools between Volatility 3, Volatility 2. And then I'm liking MemProcFS as that added kind of glue between them to make it easier to get, mem dumps of specific processes so you can cut to those more easily. That's really nice as well. That is what memory analysis with these tools looks like. It's tough, but this is something that you're going to want to get familiar with if you're after the CTHP v2 and or DFIR certifications, or even if you're interested in becoming a digital forensics incident response specialist. Yeah, R Studio, if you ask Cyberdefenders. I don't know about that. I've done some R, but I do not like it. Not one of my favorite languages. That's kind of a weird one to work with, but I guess you can do it. There are plugins to make it work. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. So thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out. Hope you learned something. I know that I did. And GoPro is streaming. Well, we have to raid GoPro. Absolutely. Our friend. Don't forget, PWST 50% off with code D for Madness. And Yanner, do not use Red R, use Ryzen. All right, friends, as always, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other, and I will see you next time. Happy hacking.